Hi Sandra, sorry, we were just on mute. Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Diana,
I can hear you as well. Can you hear me?
we can hear you, yeah.
Boots can hear you.
Oh, I'm in the wrong room.
You are in the wrong room.
We're right down the hall.
I suppose I have time. I could come over.
It's up
You're invited.
to you.
Your Boots is here, you know. she's-
Yeah. Land that plane and come on over.
Okay, bye.
Yes, of course. We are unmuted.
Right.
Hi, Cody.
Hey there.
501.
All righty, we can do the roll call.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. I'd like to call this special meeting to order. If I get a roll call, please.
Chair Galib,
Here,
Councilor Bragdon,
excused.
Councilor Danforth,
Here.
Counselor Madore,
Excused.
Counselor McEwen,
Here.
Counselor Pelletier,
Excused.
Counselor Prey.
Here,
And if you could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, the flag is over there. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That, just so the public is aware, we have a couple of orders here that we needed to get approved prior to the July 4th events that we have to ensure that those who are performing can get paid. This was not added to the warrants from the last meeting. We also have another update for ESSER grants, but we'll get there in the order arises. There are no adjustments or special presentations. So with that, Councilor Danforth, if I could have you read order number 189, please.
Yes, order 189-2022, providing for execution of the town warrant for June 29th, 2022. It is ordered that the town warrant for June 29th, 2022 in the amount of $2,600 is hereby approved.
second,
Motion by Councilor Danforth, seconded by Councilor Prey. Discussion of the council. And seeing none, out of the public. Also seeing none, back to the council, doing roll call. All those in favor, Councilor McEwen?
Aye.
Danforth,
Aye.
Councilor Prey,
aye,
and Chair Gully by passes 4-0. And Councilor Prey, if I could have you read order number 190, 2022, please.
order number 190-2022, providing for update to pause funding for ESSER 3 grant expenditures, whereas order number 132-2022 paused the funding for SF3 grant expenditures, required council approval for any such expenditures during this period, and whereas the school administration is seeking approval for payroll and prior account payable commitments, therefore it is ordered that $24,761.80 is approved for SF3 grant expenditures for the following. 1, payroll expenditures for the med tech through 9/1/2022, $5,961.80. 2, building for Toad Pond built by Region 3, $18,800.
Second.
Buildings.
Motion by Councilor Prey, seconded by Councilor Danforth. Mr. Manager, do you want to just enlighten us as to how this got on the agenda here?
Well, as we all know, there was a council meeting on June 9th where an order was brought forward to pause the cash flow funding for the ESSER 3 grant, given some uncertainties in the expenditures and the reimbursement process and timeline. We had reached out prior to that meeting to get information on any plans or contracts or work that was already agreed upon or scheduled for the summer that would have been impacted by that decision if it had been approved as written for that meeting. We had not received any information about that until just this week. It was brought to our attention that they had come to the realization that there were some payroll expenses that are accounted for in that grant, as well as these structures for their Toad Pond outpost that had been scheduled for delivery for this summer. So, we certainly wouldn't have wanted anyone's payroll to be affected by that. Not being able to pay them after June 30th. So we reached out to get the rest of the detailed information so that we could provide them this opportunity, knowing that we had a special meeting scheduled to take care of the 4th of July funding. So, here we are, we have the information available and seeking approval to be able to, most importantly, provide the payroll for the individual who would be impacted by that.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, for that background. I understand the payroll side of it. This buildings for Toad Pond is the first I've heard of that project. Could you explain why that needs to be passed?
This was the first I had heard about it as well. My email in offer to, add this to the agenda for this special meeting was based upon the salary promises. And then this information was provided in response at the same time.
Any other question or comment from the council? Councilor Bray.
Nothing. I just want to thank the manager for being persistent and reaching out to the school and trying to get them to come on board and providing information in a timely fashion.
Thank you, Councilor Bray.
Could be better.
Could be better. I guess when it comes down to this, the lack of communication is incredibly difficult. I know that you have reached out prior to the last order that we had about pausing the ESSER funds, and both of us were inquiring as to what might be held up, if they had anything in the works that they're already committed to, if anything like payroll would be affected. And it wasn't until today or yesterday that we got these numbers, and no one from the school is here. And they weren't there at the last meeting to speak to it either, and they didn't respond to emails about it either. If they could just explain why $18,800 need to be passed within a day's notice, with no other communication, with not even being here to answer questions, not even on behalf of the employee that needs to be paid. I mean, it's absurd to me. There's no way that I would feel comfortable holding up someone's income, so that part for me is fine. But this $18,800 Toad Pond building, I've never heard of that until just today. And I think personally, I cannot vote for that. I want to hear from the public first, though. So I'll go to the public to provide some input. Sandra, your hand is up.
First off, I think I deserve congratulations that I figured out how to do this. Does it have to do with the summer program, for which I understand there are no students coming in for that summer program?
I wouldn't know.
I would love to be able to answer that, Sandra. I don't have the information to answer that.
Thanks. No, that was just my thought, that if there's no students, why did they need a building?
Do you have any insight, Chief Malcolm?
That they use that during the summer for other schools across. So other schools across the state come and use that facility up there. And I don't know why you're just hearing about the building. I would think the reason they want to get it paid, and this is just speculation, when I was there, if you had Region 3 building or anything, their school year is also ending. So they're trying to do their final. They're closing up their books. So I would imagine that's what it is, but I don't know. But I do know that facility is used a lot in the summer by other schools that come here and rent the facility and use it.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, and I know, I guess, just seeing some Facebook posts that they, at the end of the school year, they had a bunch of events up there and they utilized the facility. Now, whether there were some updates or construction or something that has been used for, I'm not sure. And I think the summer program that Ms. Sullivan's talking about is the international program that's not happening. So, but I think, so that's different as far as, I know they have summer school happening right now. And so I'm wondering if this is something they've already, if Mr. Malcolm said, if Region 3 has already done the work, they need to be paid back. So that would be my assumption. This has already been done. It's not for something future to be done, but it was already done in the past and they need to pay a bill. I don't know.
Sandra, did you get your question answered?
Yeah, and it really wasn't a question. It was more of a thought that, was this a building that was intended for that international program or for the summer? I do remember at a school board meeting, hearing something about a building being built by Region 3. I don't know if it's the same building we're talking about or not.
Thank you, Sandra. Councilor Prey?
Well, just for clarification, this says buildings, plural. And I thought that there was a program that currently local kids go through the school system for the summer. Is there not?
I know there was an outdoor club or an outing club. I mean, I participated in it in middle school. I don't know if it still exists. It's just a few years back. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Bray. Did you want to continue?
If I could, only because there seems to be some unanswered questions here. I'd like to offer an amendment that we approve this order, reading as it currently does, but after number 1, we add a sentence in between before we go to number 2, is that we approve the manager upon further clarification that this is an obligation that needs to be paid for current use or existing use. To get some additional, I think you kind of hear where the council is in reference to just wanting further information, but I don't want to have to call the council back. So I'm willing to approve it as long as I think we feel justified that this couldn't wait until a subsequent meeting with additional information.
Yeah, my issue with that is now we're putting the decision on the manager's hands and he could be basically blamed or whatnot for finding value in the program or not. I think we as a council need to make that decision and not have him be the one who has it on his shoulders personally.
Then I won't offer the amendment.
But you already have.
There's no second.
Well, I said there was no second, and I was proposing that we put.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I mean, I appreciate what you're saying and I don't want to hold something up further, but I can't accept this blind voting on stuff that has been requested multiple times. Why no one is here from the school, I don't know. Why they weren't at the last meeting when we were looking to pause the funding, I don't know. Why they didn't reach out before that meeting when we contacted them with any response at all, I don't know. I mean, there's been so many opportunities to get these answers and we've always emailed ahead of time to let them know that we are voting on this thing, that they can either provide information beforehand or during the meeting. And to see this just slip under, like, I mean, this isn't payroll. This is almost $19,000 of taxpayer money. And for us to just say, okay, and we don't have any explanation or know why, and the school's had multiple opportunities, I'm repeating myself now, but I just am trying to find any valid reason why that portion of this order should be passed.
Yes, is there anything in the email attached?
And the emails are attached. Yeah. I guess with that, Council
If I
Prey,
may, to counter that and to try to explore this a little bit more though. The school board has the authority to approve, and they have approved, my assumption is that they approve purchasing these buildings. In reference to your concern about the building. It's not to the council to do it, but it's a question of utilizing that money that they're really borrowing from the town until they get money back from the program. That's in question with cash flow.
but do we know that they approved this already? Do we-
I don't, but I'm just kind of going by Sandra saying that they had talked about it at the school board. And again, here's another example. We did have the school board when we first talked about the budget, and nobody from the school board wanted to comment on questions that were raised by the budget. And we did have the presentation by the superintendent, but we don't have that breakdown.
Council Danforth.
I was just I'm trying to look in my email. I think they're having an executive session tonight. Is that why they're not
4
available?
o'clock. They've already
Yeah,
had it.
they've already had it. Okay, so I was just trying
Unless
to,
they're still going.
yeah. And this says buildings for Toad Pond built by Region 3, and it was in the ESSER grant. So it was approved by the school board. So it's part of their ESSER grant
Right.
funding expenditures.
But the pause that we put on there was for us to get a handle on that flow of money as to how it affects everything overall. And again, as was stated, we get last minute notice really without any explanation.
And they approved a whole host of other things along with this, and it's not a commitment to spend those monies to a contractor or to another organization. That's just their plan that went to the state. So if they approved anything further, like an order to pay Region 3 that we don't know about, that would be different. But again, we don't know any of this stuff. In the email that the manager sent over to them, he wrote, if you can send over an order and whatever information you can regarding what is needed for payroll expenses out of the ESSER 3 funding, I'm happy to add that to our agenda and seek approval. That was the only thing that had been brought up was payroll. And now all of a sudden there's this literally at the last minute. I personally cannot spend taxpayer money of almost $19,000 with no explanation at all, and with multiple attempts to get an explanation. Unless there's any other conversation, I will make a motion. Well, I'd like to make a motion that the amount under it is ordered that $24,761.80 is changed to $5,961.80. And that number 2 is stricken from the order, which is buildings for Toad Pond built by Region 3.
We have Councilor Bragdon.
What time did he join? Just a few minutes ago?
Just
now.
right now.
Okay.
5:20.
I just joined.
Welcome, Councilor Bragdon. I had just made a motion. If there's a second,
Didn't hear one yet.
and seeing none, the motion dies.
Unless since he joined while you were reading it. you
We
wanna
can make
read it
a-
again?
I didn't hear the reading.
Okay, well, I'll just give you a little bit of backstory. I don't know if you have the order in front of you, but we had, the manager had reached out a number of times to the school about the ESSER 3 grant funding prior to and during and after the order that we were pausing the funding until we could deal with the cash flow issue. Up until now, there has been no response whatsoever with any clarification. They also have not come to the meetings to explain it either when it was up for conversation. Recently, the manager was made aware that there was a payroll expense. Basically, someone's income that was dependent upon the ESSER III funding that we had paused, that we didn't know about until very recently. So the manager reached out to the school second time to ensure that before our budget season is over, which is the end of this month, that basically no one would be left without pay, because it reverts back to last year's budget, basically. And because that was not included in last year's budget, that person would not receive those funds. In that process, however, I think it was today, Mr. Manager, that you got that email from the superintendent, or from Josh Deacon, excuse me.
Would have been yesterday.
Yesterday afternoon,
2:38.
at 2:38 PM. There were two different items that were sent to us that required ESSER III funding, according to Josh Deacon. That was the salary that I just referenced for that person. And then there was the buildings for Toke Pond built by Region 3. And that was, as I was explaining, and how other counselors acknowledged as well, that was new to all of us. We hadn't known about that expenditure, and there's no explanation associated in this email, or obviously no one's here from the school to represent it, and they weren't at the last meeting to represent it, nor did they send anything between then and now. So I was just making a motion to take that last part out, the $18,800, until we obviously get an explanation, because we don't know what that is. We had a discussion trying to figure out what that was.
Okay, thank you for the context.
Yeah. Counselor McEwen, you unmuted yourself. Did you have something?
No, I'm comfortable with voting on this order if we're ready to vote.
Okay. Well, now that Counselor Bragdon heard the backstory, I'd like to make a motion that it is ordered that $24,761.80 is changed to $5,691.80, and that number 2, buildings for Toke Pond built by Region 3, $18,800 is stricken from the order.
I will second for the purpose of discussion.
Motion by Counselor Chair Gully, seconded by Counselor Bragdon. Discussion of the council. Counselor Danforth.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So it will be stricken based on your order, the motion that you just made, but it doesn't mean that it won't show up on our next agenda. So our July 14th meeting, we can take this up and somebody from the school can be there to explain it.
Yes,
They're just postponing any kind of payment.
that's correct. Counselor Bragdon.
That's bouncing off Jane. That's how I feel. I'd rather know exactly what this is for, other than just approving it willy-nilly and not knowing exactly what the expenditures are for. So I'm definitely interested to hear what the school has. I'm definitely in favor of what they do up at Toke Pond. I've been up there myself when I was, at school there. But I just want to know exactly what the funds are for. That's one of the reasons why I seconded and to have this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Bragdon. Any other council comment? Counselor Prey.
Yeah, I suspect if it's something they seriously need, they're gonna ask us to meet again before the week's over. But I'm here in town until Friday. So I guess I'm willing to support the amendment. If they need it that bad, they'll get a hold of the manager and get us additional information.
I agree.
Right. And just last words, this could very well be a valid expenditure. I think that we should continue to set the example of having as much information as we can before approving taxpayer funds, and so that the public also is aware of why we're making these decisions as well. So it's nothing, at least for myself, against this expenditure that I don't know anything about, because I don't know anything about it. It could very well be a valid thing. Any public comment? And seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment, Counselor McEwen,
Nay.
Counselor Bragdon,
Aye.
Counselor Danforth,
Aye.
Chair Gully, aye. Counselor Prey.
Aye.
The amendment passes 4-1. And any other discussion of the council on the amended order? Or that of the public? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amended order, Councillor McEwen,
Aye.
Councillor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councillor Danforth,
Aye.
Chair Goy, Councillor Prey.
Aye.
The amended order passes 5-0. And with that, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councillor Danforth, second by Councillor Bragdon. All those in favor, Councillor McEwen,
Aye.
Councillor Bragdon,
Aye.
Councillor Danforth,
Aye.
Chair Goy,
Yes.
Councillor Prey. We're adjourned 5-0.
27.
5:20.
Thank you, everyone.
Good job, chief. I saw you handle that dog off.